protocol prayer, you first want to acknowledge that you are in the physical plane, but you are going to be making a request for energy to shift in another dimension. Then the second step of a full working prayer is to recognize that you are not alone. You are an etheric being riding in the body. So your body has its own consciousness, you have your own consciousness, and you have a team, a presence that encircles you. And I call that the sacred trinity. You, soul rider, your body, and your teams. You, as an etheric being of light riding in the body, your physical human body, and your teams, the teams exist in another dimension. You, soul rider, actually exist in another dimension because you're an etheric being. Your body exists in the physical dimension, but it also exists in other dimensions. It too is a multidimensional being. And so you are invoking some energetic aspect of you in a prayer, calling upon that sacred trinity of you, your body, and your teams. And so when we're beginning a prayer, we always use the word we. We is the essence of you, soul rider, your body, and your teams. You can also include the guides, ascended masters with the we. I like using the word we invite because it's like an invocation, it's an invitation. People can do it to the degree that they choose or not. It's not a command or a demand. We're not controlling another energy. So we want to really honor people's boundaries, regardless of the dimension they're expressing themselves in. So the second concept is you're invoking that sacred trinity. You are never alone. You, your body, your teams. And then the third practice or process of a full working prayer speaks about that third concept of the 7 cups of consciousness. And it's about bringing our awareness to what we are perceiving. What is the inner world that we're experiencing? What's our physical experience? What are we picking up on? We're receiving information all the time, and that information either has a harmonic energy to it or a discordant energy. So when we are bringing in a prayer, we're asking for something, we're wanting something to shift. So we're literally using our inner world, recognizing that when we shift our inner world, we then shift our perception of something. If we're witnessing something that is really distressing, we would ponder, how can we use our inner world to positively, empathically impact another, but not by controlling or projecting our piece onto them. And we'll dive deeper into that as we go into the crafting of these protocols. So first step, multidimensional reality. Second step, pulling upon that sacred trinity, you, soul rider, your body, your teams. Third step, feeling into what's coming up for you. What are you yearning? What are you observing? What's the dissonance? What are you wanting? What could you make a request for that would bring it into a more harmonic frequency? And then the fourth step or process to unpack in a protocol prayer is that fourth concept of we do the opposite of that which we're intending on mastering till we reach a certain level of consciousness and we begin to practice that which we wish to master. So I'm in self-hatred to get self-love. I'm in the victim to move into empowerment. I'm in the fear of lack to cultivate mastery of bounty, abundance, support, resources. I fear not being safe because I want to cultivate safety. So these discordant energies that we're in, the opposite of what we're wanting, it gets our attention, slaps us into a more awake state, uncomfortably often, and then we are more aware and we can then start practicing that which we intend to master. So with any prayer, there is an action. And in the third step, you picked up the information of what you're wanting, what you're experiencing, what you don't want, what you want to change. And then the fourth step of a prayer is to make the request for the activation of the vibration of what you're really after. And then the fifth step ties in the concept of the body. You have a body and it's in the physical dimension. You're using a body to pick up information. You're using the body literally as the anchor to make a request for energy to shift in another dimension. You're inviting your body to model a particular way of being. So we're always bringing the body in because without the body, we don't have access to the physical dimension. When we don't have access to the physical dimension, we don't have access to the feedback loop, to the accelerator. And again, you can only make a request for a huge transformational energy to happen in another dimension if you have access to the feedback loop. It would be like being in the ocean, being able to feel the temperature of the ocean, being able to communicate to the sun and the clouds and saying, it'd be nice if it was a little warmer. And then the clouds move away from the sun, and then the sun beams down onto the water. And then you're like, ooh, that's perfect. But if you're not in the water, you can't communicate with the sun and the clouds to shift the temperature because you don't know if you're going to make it too hot, too cold. So that's the access to the feedback loop that we have, that our body gives us access to. And then the sixth step of a prayer is acknowledging that we have gifts, we have wisdom, we have information, we have mastery. And in a prayer, we're often sending appropriate energetic information, modeling a particular way of being. And then the seventh step of a prayer is to recognize that deep in our core, we are all perfect, and we are witnessing the perfection of another, regardless of what they're experiencing. So those are the 7 steps for a full working prayer. Again, we're going to condense it, practice it, and just start crafting protocols. And I'll share with you, okay, so do you see how in the first step of this protocol, we just tied in this concept, this concept, this concept. So one sentence could actually have 3 concepts all tied into it. So not every single prayer has to have 7 sentences. It just needs to speak to 7 concepts, ideally, for that full Monty kick.